This is homework for 4/13/50, 15, not 50, and it's the Monday after spring break. I want you to remember that it's really important for you to listen and watch. Some of this is review, but it's review of stuff that it will really help if you listen and watch, get it really deep into your memory bank so you have it next year, not just this year for a test. This first question is asking me to examine what Brock did. It tells me he did not do it correctly. And then it's saying what's wrong with the 3 and the 2 that he has. The 3 and the 2 that he has here and here. So turn the video off and explain what's wrong with that and where and what it should have been, and then turn it back on and check your work. So since he's multiplying c times c times c, that should be c to the third, and k times k is k squared. The 3 and the 2 are exponents, they're not coefficients. These are important vocabulary words. Exponents are numbers that tell you how many times to multiply this by itself. Coefficients are numbers that you multiply something by, and you're not multiplying the 3 times the c, you're multiplying the c times itself 3 times. I need you to know these words, so make sure you're paying attention to the vocab. This next problem asks you what you would get if you did this multiplication problem. Turn off the video and turn it back on after you've written your answer on your worksheet. If you did j times j times j times j, that'd be j to the fourth, because you're multiplying j times itself 4 times. And if you did g times g times g, that'd be g to the third, because you're multiplying g times itself 3 times. This is written in exponential form. This is written in expanded form, exponential form. This next question asks you to explain why Karen was able to just add the 5 and the 2 to get a to the 7th. Turn the video off, write what you're thinking down, and then turn the video back on and listen and watch to the answer. We know that a to the 5th means a times a times a times a times a, and a squared means a times a. So essentially what you're doing is you're multiplying a times itself 7 times altogether, and that's why she was able to do the 5 plus the 2 equals a to the 7th. This next problem is asking you to show what you would get if you did b to the 4th times b to the 4th. Make sure that you show why it's equal to whatever it's equal, just like we've been doing on our whiteboards. Turn the video off and do that. Since b to the 4th is b times b times b times b, and b to the 4th is b times b times b times b, then when you're doing b to the 4th times b to the 4th, you're really multiplying b times itself 8 times. That's why it's b to the 8th. This is exponential form. This is expanded form. Listen and learn so you can keep the vocabulary straight. Expanded, exponential. This next problem switches gears. We're not now working on exponents and exponential form. We're now working on slope. And this is showing you slope in a little different way. So it's showing you a formula for finding slope. You've been putting carets up here and doing rise over run or change in y and change in x. It's showing you that you can do the same thing by doing y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, Kamen found the slope correctly, and here's his work. So pay attention to where things are coming from here. It shows y2 minus y1, and he shows negative 6. That means that y2 must be negative 6. That's right here, negative 6. And I have to subtract from that y1, and he subtracts from that 3. Well, here's a 3 right here. So it's showing you that I'm doing this minus this, which means I also have to do this minus this. And when you do that, you get this, which is equal to this, which if you wanted to could be equal to 1.5. So now it's asking you if Cayman had done 3 minus 6, so switched them around, 3 minus negative 6, and then 4 minus negative 2. So instead of, he did negative 2 minus 4, instead do 4 minus negative 2. Would his answer have still been correct? Why or why not? And then it's asking you, why did he put the negative 6 minus 3 in the numerator, the top part of the fraction, instead of in the denominator? I want you to try and answer both of those questions on your own. And then when you turn the video back on, listen and watch. You're getting it in 2 different ways. It helps, it builds those neural paths. Turn the video off now and try it on your own. Okay, so what he did is he did the negative 6 minus 3, and negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. It's asking you, what if you did 3 minus negative 6? Well, 3 minus negative 6 is really equal to positive 9. If you don't believe me, try it on your calculator. And he did negative 2 minus 4, negative 2 minus 4, and negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. And what would happen if you did 4 minus negative 2? 4 minus negative 2, you just switch this around. Well, 4 minus negative 2 is 6. That means that this 9 over 6 simplifies to 3 over 2 in the same way that this 9 over 6 simplified to 3 over 2, which means the answer is the same. Well, why does that work? It works because when they tell you to do y2 minus y1, it doesn't matter which of these you decide is going to be y2 and which is y1. You could call this y2 or you could call this y2, as long as if you're going to call this y2, then this has to be x2. And if you're going to call this y2, then this has to be x2. That's the only rule that you have to follow. So I could even do this as y2, 6 minus 0, and then this as x2, 6 minus 2, and here 6 minus 2 is 4, and 6 minus 0 is 6, and 6 over 4 is the same thing as 3 over 2. So there's lots of possibilities for how I can set this up using the slope formula. y2 minus y1 equals x2 over x1. So that's why that works. And remember here that the reason this simplified to 3 over 2, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and that's why this ended up being positive, just like this ended up being positive. Positive divided by a positive is a positive. Okay, so now it says, why did he put the negative 6 minus 3 in the numerator? Because slope equals rise over run, and rise is your y's. It's your y's here. That's why he had to have this in the numerator. You can't put the x's in the numerator or it won't be the correct slope. It's just like if you do a slope triangle and you do the run over the rise, you're going to get the wrong answer. It has to be rise, y's, over run, x's. This next problem is asking you to do the same thing, but I want you to use the slope formula. So you pick what you want y2 to be, and you pick what you want x2 to be, and same thing with your y1 and your x1, and try to use the slope formula. Turn the video off now, and when you're done and you've written it down on your paper, turn the video back on and watch and listen. When I show you this, it's important that you understand that my answer and your answer, the final answer will be the same for sure, but your work might be different from mine. I've decided to make this 5 be my x2 and this 4 be my y2. So remember, I have to do y's. So y2, 4, minus y1, I'm making it negative 2, minus negative 2, over, now I have to do x2, 5, minus x1, 4. Okay, so now if I do that, 4 minus negative 2 is equal to 6, and 5 minus negative 4 is equal to 9, and in simplest form, the fraction 6/9 is equal to 2/3. So no matter which points you use, you should have gotten 2/3 for your final answer, even if your work looks different. If you didn't show your work, like I did, this is my y2, and this is my y1, and this is my x2, and this is my x1. It's important that you do show it because we're using a different method. We're not doing carrots on the table, we're using the slope formula. This problem is asking you to look at how you can set up the slope formula from 2 points on the coordinate plane. So you have a line, and you have the point 1, 5, and 4, 3, and the slope formula is the same, change in y, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this person did not find the slope correctly. They did something wrong. There's nothing wrong with the formula here. There's something wrong here with the work. So you have to explain what they did wrong, okay? And then you have to show a way to check the work using the graph, how they could have used the graph instead of the slope formula to check their work. I want you to try both of those questions on your own, and when you've finished writing down your answers, turn the video back on, watch, and listen to the answer. Okay, so what I think it's Akimi. What Akimi did wrong is, if it's change in y, then the y's are the 3 and the 5. And you can either do 3 minus 5 or 5 minus 3, it doesn't matter. But they have to be in the numerator, not in the denominator. Look what she did. She did change in x over change in y. You can't do that. So she switched them around. And then it says, well, how could you figure out the right answer just by using the graph, not using the slope formula? Well, draw a slope triangle. This is 2 and this is 3. Your rise is 2, your run is 3, so the slope must be 2/3. Now you have to do the same thing for this problem, but again, they don't want you to do the slope triangle. They want you to set up the problem using the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Do that on your own, show your work, and write your answer down, then turn the video back on and watch and listen to the answer. Okay, so if I do my y's, here are my y's. The 2 is a y and the 0 is a y. So I'm going to do 2 minus 0, and then negative 1 minus negative 5. So I did this, take away this, and then I'm doing this, take away this. 2 minus 0 is 2, and 1 minus negative 5 is the same as 1 plus positive 5. And if you do negative 1 plus positive 5, you're going to end up with positive 4. And 2/4 simplifies to 1/2. Now let's show how we could check that on the grid. So this is 2 and this is 4, which means 2/4, which is 1/2 is my slope. Okay, you're done with your homework tonight. See you in the morning, guys. Have a good night.